Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. A researcher is compelled to make a time machine for a gathering of maniacs and should return to the day of the execution to keep Jesus from being wiped out in history from being all different. Today, we will recap the narrative of the film Dark Easter from 2020 of every 2029. Brant, a man who has retired from the military, was traveling with his family. When his wife tells him that he will always be a hero, even outside of the military, and that God will perform a great miracle through him. However, Brant becomes disoriented on a curve, causing his car to be severely damaged by a truck, causing it to overturn because he is the only one not wearing a seatbelt. While the man and his family are trapped inside the vehicle, he flies out of it. What lights to burst into flames until it detonates, leaving Brant feeling remorseful for the disposal of his significant other and little girls consumed by alcohol. The ex-military man goes through the following couple of weeks recollecting his family while finding fault for everything on God. Inquiring as to whether he is so strong, why he permitted something like this to occur. The scientific team, led by Ram Goldstein, was simultaneously working in Lab 19. When they blow up a portion of the place, this works on a teleportation device. Security guards seize the 4 researchers following the failure and keep them locked up in the laboratory until Ahmed, the billionaire who is funding the project, arrives. When he shows up at the spot, Smash attempts to assume all the fault to save the occupation of the remainder of the group. However, dissimilar to what they envisioned, Ahmed appears to be very cheerful and chooses to show the surveillance camera film uncovering that briefly. They were pleased with their progress when the chair they tried to teleport arrived on the other side. Ahmed asks his men to secure Unit 19 and moves Ram's team to Lab 1, promising them each a bonus of $10 million if they succeed in completing the project. While the researchers go home for the day, Brant goes to visit Ahmed, saying that he is burnt out on remaining at home and requests to continue his exercises as head of the security group since he needs to give Brant an opportunity to manage his despondency. The billionaire accepts Brant's return to the team but gives Severe the role of temporary leader, leaving the former soldier in charge of the less stressful tasks. Half a month after the fact, Slam and his group kept dealing with the undertaking. However, despite having access to the equipment in the main laboratory, they make little progress. Which leaves Goldstein exceptionally disappointed to quiet him down. He is directed by Amy to the server room, where the two of them can unwind away from the cameras. However, while they are there, Ram decides to break into the network after starting to hear strange noises and finds that his boss is working with Rashad Amir, one of the most wanted criminals in the world, to find out what's going on. It turns out that Ahmed is funding the research solely for the purpose of using the teleportation device to simultaneously attack multiple locations and move bombs and other supplies from one location to another. Since it has become so obvious who they are working for, Amy recommends they inform the FBI. In addition, Ram advises them to act as though nothing has occurred in order to avoid being discovered. Incorporating the arrangement, they return to the lab where they proceed with the tests, attempting to move a few balls made of styrofoam from one side of the room to the other. Ram, however, realizes that he forgot one of the most crucial times when carrying the ball from one side to the other, which takes a few seconds to complete. Since nothing works out, Ram begins to consider all of the possible variables. Therefore, without taking into account the variation in time, it appears as though he is attempting to transport the styrofoam balls at the speed of light, which ultimately results in their disintegration. Realizing that this might be the solution, Ram announces that it is lunchtime and leads everyone out of the laboratory, letting him be to do the last tests, not having any desire to be found by the safety officers. Goldstein puts a styrofoam ball on the finish of the stage and leaves a little eraser close to it, which is the real item to be moved. Now that Ram has taken into account the passage of time, he is able to get the rubber to the other platform while pretending that something went wrong with the styrofoam sphere. However, the security guards noticed something odd and were able to identify it as soon as he picked up the rubber. Mindful that he has recently found time travel, Slam goes to the PC to scramble all the code. However, as the artificial intelligence completes the process, security personnel arrive and take the eraser from his pocket, bringing him to Ahmed for a reason. Graham continues by stating that time travel is extremely risky due to the possibility of altering the timeline and ending all existence. Dazed by aspiration, Ahmed says that the gamble merits taking a request serious to take him to the lockdown room while different groups attempt to recuperate the encoded information. Yet, since they can't, the very rich person concludes that he will get Goldstein to coordinate somehow. To do this, Ahmed goes to Mark and requests that he get the researcher to let him know how to decode the machine. After this, the extremely rich person goes to Amy and the others and attempts to excuse them, declaring Ram's significant discovery in the U.S. military has considered the task top secret, eliminating their possessions and seizing their mobile phones. Ahmed goes to the warehouse shortly after this and discovers that Brandt has not yet gotten the scientist. He brings Ram's parents along and begins threatening them to expedite the process. Be that as it may, since the young fellow will not coordinate. In order to force the young man to remove the encryption, the billionaire makes the decision to eliminate both of them. After hearing the supervisor's arrangement, Brandt says he disagrees with it, and the two of them go outside to talk manipulative. As usual, Ahmed asserts that it was only a threat and that even if they did, that Ram might be able to travel back in time and save them in the cell. Ahmed asks Goldstein once more about the encryption, giving him 7 seconds to reconsider. He orders his men, however, to shoot his father in the head because this does not occur, because the researcher continues to refuse to cooperate. The tycoon gives him 5 additional seconds and afterward advises them to kill the mother, stating that he must now bring them back and reactivate the machine. Despite this, Ram remains silent, and Ahmed uses his final card to avert Amy's capture and the removal of every part of her body, beginning with her eyes. The scientist finally makes the decision to work together, stating that he does not know if time travel works with humans. However, Ahmed is willing to take a chance and gives him 3 days to complete the necessary adjustments. While secretly programming a trip that will take him 10 minutes before his parents were killed, Ram works on the time machine. Following 3 days, once everything is set up, Ahmed decides to test the time travel with one of his men. However, Goldstein hands over the recuperator to him prior to getting on the platform. A device with the appearance of an Apple Watch that helps the traveler return to the present without the assistance of anyone from the past and ensures that the molecules remain connected after teleportation. Indeed, even unnerved, the body watch sees no other option and climbs the stage, winding up on the opposite side of the research facility safe and sound. After this, Smash puts a retriever on his wrist and attempts to hurry to the stage. Yet, the safety officers stop him. Additionally, Ahmed declares that he will not permit him to save his parents and orders his men to remove him alone from the laboratory bearing Brandt. The billionaire informs Brandt that he has the ideal opportunity to exact revenge and inquires whether Brandt is still enraged toward God. Requesting his representative to collect a group and travel to the hour of Jesus, exploiting Brandt's displeasure to kill the Savior before the restoration and forestall the introduction of Christianity, exploiting the safety officers. Amy distracts the group by going to the camera room to find Ram and capturing the exact moment Brandt's team travels back in time. In spite of the fact that they are blissful the machine is working, they continue to search for their companion until they track down him restricted in the stockroom, really looking at the encompassing cameras. When Brandt and his men arrived at the Garden of Gethsemane, they saw that there were no guards nearby and rushed to free him. They split into 2 groups and wait for Judas to reveal who Jesus is in order to eliminate everyone present, the disciples and the Roman soldiers, leaving only the Messiah. In 33 after Christ, with their modern equipment, they manage to locate Jesus' group and catch the moment when Judas arrives with the Roman soldiers to complete the mission. As Brandt approaches the target, he begins to speak, declaring that if he is indeed God's son, he can redirect the shots. Nonetheless, Jesus answers that he will sit idle and that he is of now die for him, granting the former soldier permission to act in accordance with his beliefs. After that, Brandt gets up and shoots the man who is lying down, claiming that he is doing so because he has killed his family. After completing the mission, he places the retriever on Jesus' arm before returning to the present and receiving the body. Congrats! Seeing everything on camera, Smash understands that this is the ideal open door and plans to go to the lab to turn back the clock and open Ahmed to the specialists before he utilizes the machine. It just so happens, after an adjustment of the timetable, history starts to rework itself at the speed of light. As a result, they can no longer return quickly because Ahmed's actions will have consequences in the timeline. They try to return to when they were still in the laboratory after initializing the recuperators. 19, but they can only travel to a time before the brand with the machine. Also, his men were out of choices. Ram takes a copy of the last coordinates and arrives on the platform at precisely 1 a.m. Because they are aware that Brandt will soon be present at the laboratory, the scientists immediately begin scurrying through the woods and discover Jesus. Just as Amid's men begin their mission to eliminate him, they discover that the billionaire can travel through time and get what he wants. Ram decides that the best course of action is to travel back in time before the new data overwrites itself because he is aware of the end of Christianity. Yet, since he couldn't say whether Ahmed has laid out a snare, he recommends going with Amy while Simon and Felix hold on to go a little later along these lines. In the event that they are caught by the safety officers, the two excess researchers can utilize the time machine to return 10 minutes before Ram and his parents are taken away. The two go back in time to see where exactly they ended up after the plan was laid out. 20 a.m. They appear in front of one of the security guards 30 minutes before the final trip, and they run through the hallways until they reach the lab. 19, in which Ram tries to reprogram the teleportation device so that they can leave the building. However, Amy turns to the cameras and begins communicating with the previous version of herself through Libras because the security guards already know where they are, which is still looking for Ram on the server. After she has finished sending the message, Ahmed's men break into the lab and kill both of them. This gives the scientists permission to go to the warehouse and rescue Ram from the past. Without Ahmed thinking anything back at the lab, they throw different analysts out and program the machine to take them out. 10 minutes prior to the arrival of Brandt's team in 33 after Christ. After waiting for their colleagues, the two scientists decide that it is time to leave and attempt to return to 2029. However, for reasons unknown, Simon's retriever wears out and he stays previously, making Felix go to the future alone and be caught by a prescription's men with the researcher close by. The extremely rich person starts to investigate him until at long last, the course of events modifies itself, uncovering that without Christianity in the future, the planet is completely destroyed, resulting in everyone fleeing to Felix, where dozens of zombies sprouting from the ground attack. Back in 33 AD, the group of scientists plans to use their 10-minute advantage to surprise Brand and his men when they arrive on their second trip to the past. However, they will need to do so right away, because they will only be vulnerable when they appear. The researchers take advantage and use pieces of wood to kill almost all of the men. However, Brandt and Sirius figured out how to appear and wind up disposing of both Felix and Simon, as well as hitting Amy with a shot after discovering that in the midst of men have made do. Amy begs Ram to go after them and save Jesus. Goldstein jumps off the cliff in his lab coat and starts chasing the disciples through the camp. He trips over Peter's body and drops the pistol to the ground. Back at Simon's first trip, he gives up and waits for help. Instead, he decides to fix the retriever on his own and takes him to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he meets Jesus face to face. He is informed about the future men who will arrive to eliminate him and Simon asks him not to return to the camp. However, Jesus answers that this will never again occur and that he should get back to confront his predetermination. Back at the camp, Slam sees that somebody has found Extreme Gun and starts following the group, expecting an amazing chance to take it. Taking the weapon from the hands of one of the warriors subsequent to ensuring that Jesus was taken by the Romans, Goldstein returns to the nursery of Gethsemane, where he finds Amy gravely hurt, recommending that they travel back in time to a hospital. However, when he attempts to actuate the recuperators, he understands that they were deactivated by Ahmed to keep them from returning. Brandt meets Severe at dawn and steals some clothes to blend in with the crowd and investigate the area. Regardless of his orders, Extreme defies his boss and winds up causing problems when he attempts to take a dealer's tomatoes, drawing in the consideration of the warriors who start to face him, declining to return the natural product. One of the Romans is killed when the man pulls out his gun, bringing numerous security guards to his arrest. Also, Brandt, who winds up losing the retriever that is found by Mary Magdalene. At the same time, one of the Roman soldiers sees the temporal Apple Watch in Sabir arms and decides to put it around the gun. This causes the mechanism to fire, causing the gun to travel back in time. After a few hours, Simon sees Jesus being carried away by Roman soldiers and makes the decision to assist him by carrying the cross on one shoulder and carrying the Messiah with the other arm. Ram and Amy show up shortly after, and Mary Magdalene is approached by Ram, who inquires if she knows any healers or doctors. The woman, however, takes him to Jesus, who is already crucified, desperate, because she is unable to comprehend what he is saying. The researcher bows before the cross and requests that it mend her, however is totally disregarded. Sabir asserts that he is wasting his time and that Jesus can even save himself while sitting next to him on the cross, claiming that he will soon be eliminated. On the other hand, Brand confesses his sins and begs Christ to remember him when he enters his kingdom. He asks for forgiveness for everything he has done. Jesus announces that they will meet in heaven at that precise moment, breaking the silence. Ram is furious about this because Brand shot Amy and tried to kill him, but he will be forgiven even though an innocent woman is dying right in front of him. At last, Slam says that Jesus is a cheat and that Amy will die due to him, making him at long last response that the scientist wanted to save her. Disgusting. Will need to forgive Brandt. Goldstein answers that he won't ever excuse him and starts to divert Amy. Meeting Simon most of the way as the main overcomer of the primary excursion. In 2029, Ahmed finds the pistol that the Roman soldier sent by mistake and decides to use the retriever to go to Jesus' tomb and eliminate anyone who tries to steal his body. He has no idea what happened in that time and asks Ram about what happened to the girl. This forces Ram to explain everything that has happened up until that point, thus demonstrating that he never arose from the dead. Amy wakes up not far away and asks to be taken to Jesus' tomb to see the resurrection firsthand. Ram and Simon spent the early morning carrying her there. The three finally made it to the location on the morning of the resurrection, where they discovered two soldiers standing guard. The ground begins to shake suddenly. Fearful of being buried in the tomb, and Ahmed returns to the future. When the extremely rich person leaves, Jesus' body starts to sparkle in the stone that covers, the entry detonates into a few pieces. However, Ram notices the traces of a time travel and decides to go there to investigate. He finds the neon sticks Ahmed left on the floor alone on the hilltop, and Amy is visited by Jesus. Simon and Amy are both amazed by the miracle. Who eliminates all her aggravation, permitting her to die in harmony. Inside the burial chamber, the researchers are gotten by Mary Magdalene, who blames them for having taken the body. However, Slam figures out how to persuade them that Jesus restored to keep the first story in wonder. The lady emerges from the burial place and hands them Brandt's retriever, permitting them to at long last revisitation of 2029. But because they decide to use the object simultaneously, attaching it to their wrists and activating the mechanism as soon as they arrive. Simon begins firing a powerful gun at the guards and is ultimately shot. Frantic, Slam places his companion in a seat and starts to resynchronize the retriever so he can return to before his folks end. In any case, before he leaves, he hands Simon a weapon and requests that his companion obliterate the PC. When he cruises by, at last, Smash bids farewell and rushes to the stage. However, Simon fails to destroy the PC in time, and two guards pass by him before he completes the task. Earlier in time, Goldstein shows up to save his folks and is given up by the watchman. In any case, when he drops his weapons to the ground, the absence of a retriever causes the bodies of the security guards to disintegrate into space. At long last, Free Slam rushes to the constrainment room and saves his folks, driving Ahmed to hurry to the workplace while he requests one from his men to catch Amy. Partially through, the very rich person calls Brand and enlightens him concerning Ram's escape, directing him to visit the office to safeguard him. Goldstein manages to break into his former boss's office after he frees his parents and starts running after him. Be that as it may, Brand shows up at the spot and turns out to be given up by the researcher. While Ahmed is concealed under the table, Ram is furious and says that the bodyguard killed Amy. However, since in this course of events, this has not occurred at this point, Brandt denies every accusation, expressing a lot of confusion, convinced that he is not guilty. The ex-military man claims that he has already lost everything he cared about and that all he wanted to do was get the business information he stole back. Say that Ram would be doing him a favor if he fired the gun. The scientist finally manages to forgive Brand and puts the gun down after noticing the sadness in Brand's eyes. However, the scientist soon recalls that Ahmed is still alive and begins to approach the table, with his father by his side. All of a sudden, Sabir shows up with Amy and orders them to drop their weapons on the off chance that they believe she should live, opening the hole for Ahmed to emerge from under the table and shoot the researcher toward the back. Not fulfilled. The tycoon makes a shot that hits his dad's thigh and starts the commencement to dispense with his. However, Ram interrupts him, claiming to have heard a woman say, "Be a hero." As she says, "Grant is," and shoots at his former allies, eliminating almost all of them, knowing that it is a message from his wife. However, Ahmed figures out how to strike back in time and grounds 2 shots in his spine, leaving him completely deadened, thinking he has won. The tycoon requests the code to eliminate the encryption and goes to shoot Smash's mom, giving the man the initial he expected to take the bended blade from the table and stick it in a drug's back, penetrating his heart immediately. When the police show up, Brandt tells them that his former boss and all of the internal agents are part of a criminal network, beginning a chase after the other safety officers in the structure, wondering whether he has reconciled with Jesus. Slam requests that Amy open the Good Book application and read the new confirmation, affirming that the revival truly occurred and that he saved Christianity with this affirmation. Smash from what's to come perishes in Amy's arms. However, since in this course of events, he has been stuck in the distribution center this time. The current version appears shortly thereafter. 100% solid and can happen with life as ordinary to assist with marking who has become paraplegic. Slam. What's more, the others go through the following couple of months fostering their examination and figured out how to complete the time machine all alone, returning to the specific second when the previous military man lost his loved ones. Ram appears in front of the car as Brand's wife talks about being a hero. Attempts to slow it down while dressed as a traffic officer, leaving only a stop sign behind to avoid the accident. Brand's wife finds a note on the object that tells them about Ahmed's crimes and asks them to report him to the FBI so that everyone can move on safely. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel too. Support it. Thank you very much for watching.